I wonder if everybody knows that my hair is going this gray or if I'm tricking them with the beanie. I look like a bitter old man, and I guess I act like one too, so it's no big surprise, is it? Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to Podcastage. Today I am back with a review of another affordable instrument dynamic microphone. That microphone being the Sterling P10. If you are interested in this mic, it will cost you between $60 and $80 depending on if it's on sale. Like always, I'll throw some links down below. And in the sake of full disclosure, I do need to let you know that Sterling sent me this microphone free of charge for the sake of making this review. For this review, I will be running the microphone directly into the Focusrite 18i 22nd Gen. My gain is set at around 415. I will not do any kind of post-processing, but I may have to boost it a little bit in post, so check the doobly-doo, or the lower third, to see what I diddly did, or how much I boosted it in post. I translated it for you. There you go. And now let's talk about what comes in the box. First, the microphone comes in this zippered padded storage bag. You will, of course, get the microphone, a microphone clip, but no 5/8 to 3/8 inch microphone stand adapter, and a tiny bit of documentation. Then as far as the build quality, it does come across as robust, and I don't have any concerns about it. It has an all-metal body as well as a metal mesh grille, which does have a little bit of give to it, so I'm not going to press it too hard. As we move around the microphone, there are no buttons or switches. On the end of it, you will find the XLR port, and if it matters to you, this microphone is made in China. Made in China! Then as far as the specs, this microphone has a cardioid polar pattern, a frequency response of 50 Hz to 16 kHz, a sensitivity of around -56 dB, a max SPL of 153 dB, and an impedance of 400 ohms. Now I am spinning around the P10 to 90 degrees so you can hear the off-axis rejection and coloration. We'll continue around the microphone to 180 degrees. Here's what the rear of the microphone sounds like. Continuing around the microphone to the second 90-degree angle, and then rotating and ending at the front of the mic. Now I know that it's not a vocal microphone, but we have to test the plosive rejection of it, so please bring pizza pronto. Please bring pizza pronto. Please bring pizza pronto. Now I am right on top of the microphone to really exaggerate that proximity effect, and here is how it's sounding. Now I'm about 3 inches off of the mic with it pointed at the corner of my mouth, and here is how it's sounding. About 1 foot away from the microphone, 2 feet away from the microphone, and about 4 feet away from the Sterling P10. Now I am typing on a keyboard with Gatoron blue switches to see how much of my voice versus how much of the keyboard it picks up. And for all the gaming folk, now I am typing on the sad W and spacebar keys. Now here is how the microphone sounds in a well-treated room. There it is, the little microphone, little cutie pie. But here is how the microphone sounds in a completely untreated room. Why did I sound like that? Now to see how the microphones mount and the internal suspension system rejects shocks, I will go ahead and tap on my desk to see how much of that noise it can reject. And then I will tap on the boom arm. Also, I'm annoying, so I will tap on the body of the microphone to see if there are any kind of resonant frequencies. Also, I know that this isn't a handheld dynamic microphone, but just for the sake of being complete, I do want to pass it back and forth between my hands to see how much of the handling noise it can reject if you did decide to use it for that. Now, like we always do, in order to get a little bit more context, I'm going to do a quick spoken word comparison between the microphone that we're reviewing and a couple of other offerings out there so we can see what the differences are in tone and see how it stacks up against the competition. We'll start on the microphone that we're reviewing, and this is the Sterling P10. I am 3 inches off of this thing. My gain is at 415, and here's how it's sounding. Let's jump to the first mic. Now we are on the Sterling P20, which is the vocal version of this microphone line. This goes for, I believe, $60. I am still 3 inches off. My gain is at 415. Check the lower third and listen to the top end on this. Very different from the P10. Let's jump back to the P10 and do more comparisons. Back again on the Sterling P10, nothing has changed, and here is how it's sounding. First up, we are on the microphone's main competitor, the Shure SM57. This goes for $100. I am still 3 inches off. My gain is still at 415. Check the lower third to see how much I boost each of these in post. And this is how it sounds in comparison to the Sterling. Let's do some more of these. Back again on the Sterling P10 as a palate cleanser so you can hear this mic before we jump to this next one right now. Now we are on the Beyerdynamic TG I51 instrument microphone. This goes for, I believe, $130. I am 3 inches off. My gain is still at 415. And here is how this sounds in comparison. Let's jump back to the Sterling and do a couple more comparisons. We are back on the Sterling again, so you can hear this another time just for palate cleansing's sake, and let's jump to another one. Now we are on the Beyerdynamic M201 TG. This goes for about $300. I am 3 inches off. My gain is at 415, and here is how this sounds in comparison to the Sterling. Let's jump back and do 2 more, I think. All right, we are on the Sterling P10 again. Nothing has changed. Here's how it sounds. Let's jump to the 4th microphone. Now I am on the Shure SM7b. I am about 3 inches off of the capsule. My gain is set at 100%. This goes for around $400. I am in the neutral mode, and here is how this sounds compared to the Sterling P10. Not a fair comparison, not really the same microphone type at all, but it was on my desk and I figured, let's compare it. So that's the SM7b compared to the Sterling. Let's jump back to the Sterling and do one last comparison. And we aren't doing too many of these, but we are back on the Sterling P10, and we have one more mic that we're comparing it against. You know what it's going to be. Let's jump to it. Yes, I am fully aware that this is not a fair comparison, but now we are on the Neumann U87 Ai. I am 3 inches off on cardioid mode, no filters, no pads, gain at 11 o'clock on the Focusrite, and this goes for $3,600. How does it sound? Which of the microphones that I compared it against did you like the best? Let's jump to the music test now. I've got a million ideas in my head, but I don't think I'll ever get them out. Because I've got a million vids that I need to make, so we can see how these mics sound. I always glide down to those last notes, and also, mics sound is what I was trying to say, but it's very difficult to say a word that ends with an S and follow it with a word that starts with an S. I dare you to try it. It's really hard. And when did I start pronouncing it ed instead of head? I am turning into Tom DeLonge. But I'm a big fan of Tong DeLonge. So let's go to the conclusion. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. All right, as far as affordable microphones go, I think that the P10 is offering a different enough sound at a very reasonable price, and that makes it an interesting proposition. And first up, as far as pros, I won't go so far as to say this is a very smooth microphone, But I will point out that it rolls off a lot of those higher frequencies, which on more affordable microphones can get grainy, can get piercing, and because it rolls off a lot of those frequencies, it does avoid that. Also, I don't have any concerns about the build quality of this microphone. It feels perfectly robust. It comes with a nice storage case as well, and probably the biggest selling point of this microphone, the price. And then as far as cons, I did find the off-axis coloration on this thing to be a little bit unpleasing, so if you're in a room with a lot of ambient noise making it into the sides of the mic, it can get a little bit funky sounding. Also, I would have liked to have seen a 5/8 to 3/8 inch microphone stand adapter. I know it's made for music and you're typically not going to be using a 3/8 inch microphone stand, but it would have been nice to have included that. And I know this wasn't designed to be used at a desk or for vocals, but I did find that the shock rejection was subpar. Also, the handling noise was pretty brutal. And again, I know it's not a vocal microphone, but it did suffer from plosives. This is more of an FYI than a con, but I'm pointing that out in case you are looking at this for vocals. And now, what are my overall thoughts and opinions of this microphone? On the electric guitar, I actually really enjoyed the sound that I was getting. You get this really tame and controlled low end because it does roll off a lot of the low mids and the bass. Then you get a much more mid-forward sound. If you love mids, you're going to enjoy this. If you don't want a mid-forward sound, you're going to hate this or you're going to EQ that out. And then when you get to the treble and air, it does attenuate a lot of that, so you miss out a lot of the chances for it to become shrill or grating or piercing or grainy. And overall, on the electric guitar, I was really happy with the sound that I got. Then on the acoustic guitar, I didn't hate it, but I am definitely not in love with it. I do appreciate that it isn't muddy because of the roll-off in the low end, but then you get that very mid-forward sound, and then you have all the treble and air attenuated so you don't get any of that liveliness or really sweet articulation that you want on the acoustic. So like most dynamic microphones, I wasn't impressed with it for this application, but in a pinch, I'm sure you could get it to work just fine. Next up for singing, call me crazy, but I didn't hate it for this application. Let me explain. First off, you are 100% getting that more mid-forward sound. It does come across a little bit nasally. You aren't getting that airiness and brightness and liveliness that I know a lot of people love for singing microphones, but the thing that made it stand out to me and not dislike it is because it misses out a lot of the harshness and graininess that a lot of dynamic microphones in this price range exhibit. So probably, again, not going to be my first pick, but in a pinch, I think it could work. And finally, for spoken word, the thing that stood out to me was the midsection. It does come across quite nasally, so if you have a nasally voice like me, it's going to exaggerate that and probably not be too flattering. But it does have a controlled low end, so you're not going to run into too much muddiness there. And then you have an attenuation of the treble and air, so you're not getting too much of that articulation. It also doesn't suffer from sibilance, so that's pretty nice. And overall, it's decent, but remember, it's not a vocal mic. And to wrap up, would I recommend the Sterling P10? If you're looking for a vocal microphone, no. But for some people who are looking for an instrument dynamic microphone, I think it might make sense. What I mean by that is, it's clear that if you're looking for an instrument dynamic mic at this price point, chances are you're looking at the SM57, but if you don't like how aggressive the top end is, and you want a bit more mid-forwardness, I think that's where the P10 comes into play, because it does attenuate a bit more of that treble and a lot of that air, and you are getting a bit more of that mid boost. So if that's the sound that you're going for, I do think the P10 makes sense. Or if you're on an extremely limited budget and you're maxing out at $60 and you're able to get this on sale for $60, I think that's a pretty good deal to get a very workable microphone. Alright, that's all that I've got for you today. Let me know in the comments down below which of the microphones you like the best. If you did find this fun, interesting, or helpful, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you hated it, give me a big old thumbs down. Want more videos, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. I'm just on repeat, saying the same thing over and over again. Pretty good impression, huh? I have nothing else to say other than those people are amazing. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you on a later date. Bye-bye.